Welcome. I hope you can hear me. Can you hear me now? Sorry about there's always like a boob shot because I always have to do adjusting and stuff because stuff never goes right when I'm trying to do it. Anyway, if you've ever watched any of my other videos, you're probably already used to this because it happens every time. Anyway, without further ado, we're going to start off the 6th episode of Mommy's Pocketbook. Who? Don't know where that came from. We are live. This is a non-scripted show. A comfortable conversation chat. It's called Mommy's Pocketbook. I started it last month because my mom gave me not a ton, but a really large supply of her old records. And I intended to listen to all of them. But I didn't want to just sit and listen to them play by play. And then I wanted to know about the artist too. So I thought maybe I'd have a listening party. But you can't have a listening party, of course, because COVID, the Rona, is out there. And we don't have time for that. So I figured next best thing is I'll have a listening party with you online. Hence, Mommy's Pocketbook brought to you live on Twitch with me, DJ Zombie, / Zombie to the Rhythm if you're trying to remember where to find me or where to check out what else I have going on Twitch. That's the handle, Zombie to the Rhythm. So Mommy's Pocketbook is basically a foray into the world of the young adult in the youth of yesteryear, the 60s, 70s, and 80s. What were they into? Like, the pocketbook is really personal for a woman, especially black women. Don't touch a black woman's pocketbook. And so if you would ever get to see inside, you get to see the real personal part of that person. You know, you'd really see what they're about when you discover what they have in that bag. So that's why I call it Mommy's Pocketbook. We're going to check out 10 records, 45-sized records every week. I pick them randomly. I do a little bit of research on them. So they're not totally unknown to me, like what's coming up. But literally, I try to do it the last minute possible so that I can be almost just as surprised as you are. So, 10 randoms. I do a little research on the artist, everything that's on the cover, the record label, the production, the writers, you know, if there's any tidbits of information about what went on back then and that I could sprinkle in, that's what I do. So this is a little conversational foray into that. And without further ado, we're going to go ahead and get started because the last episode was mad long. I'm not really sure exactly why, but it was. So I don't want to keep you forever. So without further ado, we're going to get into record number 1. It's by Shep and the Limelights, an R&B doo-wop trio from New York City, consisted of James Shepard, Clarence Bassett, and Charles Baskerville. Shep used to sing with this group called the Heartbeats, right? Not to be confused with the 5 Heartbeats. Not a real band. Best band ever. One of the best to ever do it. But again, not a real band. But the Heartbeats was, started, they were before them and they were out of Jamaica, Queens, and they got a little hot with, something or other. Just they got a little bit of traction, but they ended up changing their name because there was another female group called the Hearts from where were they from? This is what happens when you don't know how to read your own writing. They were also from New York, but they got a little hit with Lonely Nights in 1955, so they didn't want to get confused. So they had to ditch the name. Anyway, so without further ado, we're going to get into that. And then I'll give you a little bit more information about some other things pertaining to the Hearts. First, we're going to do... It was kind of hard to figure out which one of these was the hits because, honestly, you would really know them for the song Daddy's Home, which was #2 for 1 week on the Billboard pop charts in 1961. And you've heard it, Daddy's Home to Stay. You heard it before. It was 11 weeks on the pop charts. And that's one of their biggest, that's their biggest hit. So, but this is neither of those. We're going to start with, What Did Daddy Do? Since we're talking about daddies, this is Shep and the Limelights. James Shepard, lead singer, hence why it's called Shep. He was one with the golden falsetto, I guess. Probably gonna be a little cracky because this record is a little ashy, but we here for all that. Try to wipe it down a little bit, but at the needle. I see a little dust on it. I can tell you what Shep Daddy did. It's like, that's not his name. They just called him Shep. But back in those days when they were the Heartbeats, they would battle other doo-wop groups, just like you see on TV and parks and on street corners. And then one day, the group Heartbeats, this was before Shep even joined, they were battling the group that Shep was in, and they were so impressed. They were like, "Hey man, you trying to be in the Heartbeats?" And so that's when they became they got in there, and also the fact that he could sing and write songs, because he wrote a lot of the songs that Shep and the Limelights sang. So eventually they became the Heartbeat Quintet, and they were performing at clubs, weddings, graduations, all the higher type of entertainment opportunities. And one of the brothers of the group, the group members, had gotten them an opportunity to do a recording, which was released on Network Records in Philly. They didn't really have no promo, so it was whack. And they ended up shortening their name to the Heartbeats instead of the Heartbeat Quintet. And they got the attention of William Miller, who worked for Pole Records, which is the label that they're on, okay? He introduced them to one of the owners, who was B. Caslin. She was impressed, and they got some minor success, and performed with Ray Charles, B.B. King, the Flamingos, but eventually B. Caslin ended up selling their contract and publishing rights. So, yeah, that was that. Pole Records was a soul R&B and doo-wop label started in New York in 1955 by B. Caslin, William Miller, and Billy Dawn. William Miller was the A&R and the father of the Miller Sisters, if you've ever heard of that group. They pretty much did a lot of freelancing for Whole Records, Acme, Onyx, Riverside, Roulette Records, which is also a name that'll come up, and it comes up all the time when I talk about these old groups, and Capri and others. And B. Caslin, her real name is Blanche. Blanche B. Caslin. She was a singer, but she was better off a writer-arranger. She did some work for Nat King Cole, Angel Smile, and Perry Como. Just Born. She did some writing arrangement on that. We're going to listen to the B-side. It's called Teach Me How to Twist. It's written by two of the band members, Charles Baskerville, and Clarence Bassett. You know, pretty much written by the group. And James Shepard. And also produced by the group. James Shepard, Charles Baskerville, and Clarence Bassett. That's it for that, as far as like me giving you some spill. So it's probably gonna be a little cracky. Like I told you, this album's a little ashy, and even I wiped it down and all. But you know, that's part of that old school vibe right there. Oh, it's not as bad as the other side.
There is a bad lady that we should learn. Show her how to move my shoulder. I'm gonna tell me when to turn. Teach me how to flip. Teach me. Tell me if it go like this. We're going around and around and around and around. Up and down like a way out now. This is happening in the USA. I tell the truth, I walk away, Johnson. Come on. Tell the truth, me. I wanna know. Tell the truth, me. Who taught you so? Tell the truth, me. Teach me how to twist. The joints are mopping, the chicks are hopping. Teach me how to twist. We're going around and around and around and around, up and down like a way out now. The twist is a poppin' in the USA. I tell the truth like a way Johnson. I wanna know. Tell the truth, me. Who taught you so? Tell the truth, me. Tell the truth, me. Teach me how to quit. Tell me if it go like this. Teach me how to quit. Tell me if it go like this.
Yes, that was our first of 10 choices this week. It was Shep in the Limelight, formerly known as the Heartbeats. Responsible for the hit of Daddy's Home off of Whole Records. That's song number 1. Now we're up to number 2 of 10. And it's going to be from Superstars because we've already been through one of theirs. Funky funk brand from Detroit, Michigan. Shotgun. Not to be confused with J.R. Walker. And now, Shotgun. Not the same thing. Anyway, the name of the band is Shotgun. Like I said, from Detroit, Michigan. 6 albums from 1977 to 1982. 8 hit tracks on Billboard R&B charts. And the most successful off of their debut album, Don't You Want to Make Love, at number 30 was at number 35 on the R&B album in 1979. Hotline, 87. R&B chart, and Motherfunk, which we're about to listen to, number 67 on the R&B charts. And it was written and produced by the band themselves. Let's get it. Ernest Lattimore, Gregory Ingram, Larry Austin, Robert Rush, Tyrone Steele, William Gentry, and William Talbert. can funk with it. Let's say now funk with that. I think I can funk with it. Like I said, that was Shotgun, the band, not the song by J.R. Walker and the All-Stars. That was released on ABC Records. ABC Records, in case you forgot, I've mentioned them a couple of times because there's been a lot of the old soul singers that were on ABC Records. Started off in 1955 in New York City. It was run by Ampar Recording Corporation. It used to be like a jazz label. And they were also responsible for the Impulse imprint, which was created in 1960. Ended up becoming ABC Paramount. Then ended up getting a whole bunch of other smaller labels. Then they got sold to MCA in 1979. And then, shortly after they got sold, MCA discontinued the whole label. Although, they would end up reissuing some of their better performing artists at a later date. So, we're going to listen to the other side. It's called Shady Lady. And like I said, the band Shotgun does a lot of their own writing and production. This was produced by Al Nally and Steve Klein for Al Nally Production, Chalice Production, who have done a lot of work producing with Shotgun, among others. I've mentioned them a couple of times too. But this was all written by the whole band. It's called Shady Lady. Let's see what this is hitting on. Oh, I like Shady Lady, y'all, already. Hey, let's get it. That's Shady Lady off of Whole Records. I'm sorry, off of ABC Records. I was looking at the whole record. That was pretty funky. I imagine myself putting on sunglasses and a nice coat with a belt and leaving out and then playing this music like Shady Lady. You know, you can literally see the film that could accompany that song. Anyway, we got our third of our 10 choices. This week is from Special Delivery. DC group, DC in the house. DC soul group started in 1972. They were originally called Act One, consisted of Reginald Ross, George Parker, and Roger Terry. And in 1974, they released one album with producer-songwriter Raphael Jarrell on Spring Records. And then they left, reformed themselves, and added Terry Huff and called themselves Special Delivery. Terry Huff was a former DC's finest. He was a former DC cop, so they recorded I Destroyed Your Love, written by Terry Huff in 1977. It became a staple on the Quiet Storm radio and R&B charts. You know, took it halfway up there. You know, before it was a big hit, but before big tunes. You know how they say on the streets now, big tunes. Before a follow-up could be made or released, they broke up because they had business and personal drama. So anyway, Terry Huff ended up recording and producing The Lonely One with help from a guy named Al Johnson and his brothers, and Terry's brothers, Andy and Jimmy, were doing the background vocals. Here's the thing about it. Mainstream, the record label that Special Delivery was on, it became such a good song that they had to kind of produce and show it with an LP after that. So it wasn't no group anymore. So they just went on and recorded it with Terry Huff and the brothers. And then on Shill Records in New York in 1978 and produced it and put it on out there. Surprised nobody ever said, hey, you owe me some coins. But, that was a different time. So this is one of those records where it's a part one and a part two. The part two is usually just a continuation of the other side. So we're going to check it out anyway. This is part one of I Destroyed Your Love by Special Delivery from DC.
I destroyed your love, your love for me. I destroyed your love for me. I destroyed your love for me. Made you mine, then I treated you harshly. Yeah.
That's I Destroyed Your Love Part 1 special delivery. DC group right there. I heard they were big on the go-go scene back then too. Because remember, I did say 72. You know, Chuck Brown started around them times. He was in the top 40 Latin band. And then, you know, branched off, you know, Soul Searchers and all that stuff. But, you know, it was around that time. So I can understand why they'd be big on the go-go scene. Like I was saying, they are on Mainstream Records, which was founded by Bob Shad. We're going to go ahead and put on part 2 while I do this. Founded by Bob Shad in 1964. Whole bunch of icons were on Mainstream Records. Dizzy Gillespie, Billie Holiday, Quincy Jones, Blue Mitchell, Bobby Brookmeyer, Maynard Ferguson, Jim Hall, Carmen McRae, Jimmy Renee, Clark Terry, Sarah Vaughan. It's also known to be the record label that has the first recordings done by Janis Joplin and Ted Nugent. So in 1970, they ended up partnering with a Florida company called Red Lion, and they ended up relaunching the label with a different focus, okay? They also ran several other imprints, sitting in with Jax, Jade, Shad, Brent, and Time Records. We've played some artists who were on Time Records. In 1976, they licensed to Time and Mainstream labels their entire catalog, 96 masters, to Audio Fidelity Enterprises, AFE. AFE then subleased the masters to Roulette. You've heard of Roulette because we played some artists with Roulette on there. And then he consigned his inventory of 190,000 unsold copies of Time and Mainstream releases to Roulette. Monty, but I mean, sheesh. And then in the early 2000s, the Shad family brought back the catalog, Monty Coins, okay, and the catalog and label under the Time and Mainstream headlines. And now it's headed by his granddaughter, Mia Apatow. So,
Things just don't seem to be the same.
Part 2 got the talk on it. I don't remember this one outside.
But I wake up in tears. But you
Well, maybe I zoned out.
I don't get the mistake when I ran your love away. But I was blind and I couldn't see. But the problem wasn't you. It was me. I destroyed your love with my jealousy. But I never had anybody like you. I never had anybody to make me feel the way you do. So I was just trying to hold on to my precious love. Now I love to hear it, but sorry is a sorry word. But right now it's the only word that I have, but truly expresses how I feel inside. So darling, wherever you are, remember I love you. Come home, please. Just don't go out, oh, that's what I do.
Special delivery from DC. I need one of those horns so I can do that every time a DC artist gets on there because I gotta represent for my hometown. Anyway, that's number 3 out of our 10. The next one is from a group called the Temprees. They are on a record label called We Produce, which is distributed by Stax. And if you know anything about old music, you know anytime you're looking for something, you either gotta go to Stax or you gotta go to Rhino. But now since Sony and Warner and everybody owns like everything, you know, there's ways that you can get a hold on stuff. But it was formed around the production team of Joe Bridges and Tom Nixon. Joe, not to be confused with Joe as in Joseph, but Josephine, who also did work for Rufus Thomas. And you know him. Do the funky chicken now. Hey, do the funky chicken now. That was a banger back in the days. And she is responsible for producing that. Tom Nixon also worked as an engineer for Motown and became an executive at Stax. So it was a no-brainer. He worked with We Produced. Anyway, the Temprees, best probably known for their song Dedicated to the One I Love, although it was a remake for them. It was one of the biggest hits for them, coming in for them at 93 on the pop charts in 1972, and it was number 17 in the R&B charts. They're from Memphis, and there's three of them: Jasper Phillips, Harold Scotty Scott, Dale Calvin, and Jasper. They called him Jabbo. Jasper, that's a name you don't hear often, huh? Anyway, without further ado, we're going to get into one of their songs. I'm just not clear which one is the A side or the B side, but we're going to start with this one. It's called Explain It to Her Mama. I got to hear this because, you just can't be telling people's mama any old thing. Temprees, Explain It to Her Mama. Uh-oh, I like it already.
Explain it to her mama. You better tell it to your daughter. You know you love her mama. She's your baby. You oughta. She felt just like a woman, but she was still a teen. She learned all around the facts of life, but nothing in between. And when she asked her mama, mama said, go away. I'll teach you all there is to know, but at a later date, you better explain it to her mama. Oh, she don't understand. Oh, no, how she's supposed to act. But the strong young handsome man. She was so curious. She just had to know, but now it really didn't matter. Just who told her so. This fella she was dating kept whispering in her ear. Soon he was saying just what she wanna hear. Explain it to her mama. Lordy, Lord, she don't understand. She's supposed to act with a strong, young, handsome man. He was a wee bit older, and he had been around. It took a little doing, but he broke her resistance down. You can fool a mama, 'cause it seems so very right. She decided this was true love on that one summer night. You better about it, mama. All the things she never knows. Now that she's a woman, she can explain it to her own. Explain it to her mama. Let her tell it to your daughter. You know you love her mama. She's your baby. You oughta explain it to her mama. Let her tell it to your
That was a tough one
daughter.
right there by the Temprees. Go ahead and represent with that good old funk soul from Memphis, Tennessee. I don't know if you guys caught that first collapsing beat, but that's a sample. Let's see if you can catch it again. I'm going to play it one more time, and then I'll tell you. I'll give you a clue. Verses.
Explain it to her mama.
Did you hear what I said? I said I gave you the clue. The clue was verses, meaning that the artist that sampled that first couple of beats and that collapsing da-da-da, da-da-da, boom. D'Angelo, that is the beginning to It's Alright. Da-da-da, 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 boom, da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Love it. Anyway, let's go to the other side, because it's a kick-ass beat, so clearly, let me borrow that real quick from your homie. Both songs are awesome, so there you go. The other side, we're going to do Love Can Be so Wonderful. And I didn't give you any information about the writers to explain to her mama. It was Cleophas Fultz and Leon Moore. Both of them have done extensive work with the Temprees and Ernie Hines and other artists that were on the reproduced imprint. So this song is written also by Leon Moore, and it's called Love Can Be So Wonderful. It is the Temprees, Memphis, Tennessee. We produce records. Formed as that group in 1970. They're known for their ballads, as you can see. Nicknamed the Love Men, which is also the name of their debut album that happened in 1972, called Love Men. The Temprees, ladies and gentlemen, off of Reproduce Records. I like that. That was nice. And I don't really like ballads, so. But then again, when you hear a good soul R&B ballad, it's easy to like. Sometimes it's hard to like these new ballads because they don't make sense sometimes. Anyway, enough about that. The next one we're going to get into is from George McCrae. And where's my prop? Bow, light it up. Because George McCrae is still alive and kicking and booking shows, etc. So, give people their flowers while they are here. DMX will probably never play in this program because these are all records that were produced and printed in the 60s, 70s, and 80s. But R.I.P. Rest in peace to DMX. He was a heck of a soul, and the entertainment industry will miss him greatly. But right now, our number 5 of our 10 songs is from George McCrae. He's from West Palm Beach, Florida. He's an R&B singer. He was married to Gwen McCrae from 1966 to 1977, and she was also an R&B songstress. You might know her from Let's Straighten It Out or Rockin' Chair, which was number 9 on the pop charts. For 8 weeks, it was on that chart too. And not at number 9 per se, but it peaked at number 9. And it was number 1 on the R&B charts for 1 week, okay? George McCrae has several gold records. He was nominated for Best Male R&B Singer. I promise I know how to talk. In 1975, and he's worked with Michael Jackson, the Jackson 5, Casey and the Sunshine Band, sang background vocals with Casey and Sunshine Band, Niles Rogers, and etc. More and more and more. Both he and Gwen sang background vocals for Rolling Stones. And you probably know him if you've ever rolled down your street smoking Indo, sipping on gin and juice, laid back, or Keith Murray, Get Lifted, or Pete Rock's Pete's Jazz from 2001. You know George McCrae because he made the song I Get Lifted Up. So you know him. Anyway, so what had happened was a song was written for KC of the Sunshine Band, but it was too high for him to sing. So that song, which was called Rock Your Baby, was given to George McCrae, and it made him a star on the Miami sound scene. It sold over 15 million copies, peaking at number 1 in more than 40 countries. It's considered one of the first smashes of the disco era. Rolling Stone even named it, let me clean this needle real quick. Rolling Stone even named it the number 1 song of the year for 1974. Got him a Grammy nomination. That's what really got him that Grammy nomination for Male Singer of the year of 1975. Anyway, we're going to start. This is called Rock Your Baby. It was supposed to be for KC from KC and the Sunshine Band, but he couldn't hit them notes, so here's George McCrae. And this is one of those albums that also has a part 2 on the other side, but we're going to kick it with both of them. Here it is. Rock Your Baby, Part 1. Flowers! Because he is still here.
Woman,
Casey, you have to have the range. Let me tell you something. That's range right there because you've heard I Get Lifted. I Get Lifted is not a high-pitched song. And he was able to still hit this. And hello. Casey couldn't even do it, baby. He couldn't even do it, baby. But anyway, it was a hit for him, for George McCrae. So, oh well. So we're going to go ahead and get into that other side. And since it's probably more of the same, I'll give you some background on TK Records while that's happening. So, this is the part 2, which is a continuation. George McCrae, Rock Your Baby, meant for KC, but KC couldn't hit the note, so the writer gave it to George McCrae, and it became a successful song for him. And one of the songs is really synonymous with the disco area. I don't know what is going on with me and why I can't talk today. Anyway, so this was released on TK Records, and if you know anything about TK Records, it's notoriously linked to a lot of funky disco classics. If you're looking for Foxy, Ghetto, TK Records. If you're looking for the Casey and the Sunshine Band, like we've already talked about, Get Down Tonight, That's Where I Like It, among so many others, TK Records, a lot of more. Also, Bobby Caldwell, and my fave is also housed there. Anita Ward, Ring My Bell, was one of my favorite songs, and when I was a small little kid, I was told that I would sing this, and I do recall singing it, and I had a keyboard, and I would try to play the little bell part. I would sing Ring My Bell with my little high-pitched voice as a child. That's because Ring My Bell is an amazing song. Anyway, so TK Records was a Miami Sound record label founded by Henry Stone, which we've talked about a lot because Henry Stone owned a whole bunch of music, influential parts of entertainment. It was from 1973 and it closed in 1981. It was named for Terry Kane, hence the T and the K, who built Stone's first 8-track recording studio. The catalog was controlled by Rhino in the U.S. for a while and then EMI outside of the U.S. Now you got to go to the big house to get it, Warner Music Group. So, and that song, in case you don't recall, if you got these other musics in your collection, 2 Live Crew has sampled that for Rock Your Baby in 1998. Lil B sampled in a song called Myself in 2012. And Pras from the Fugees, featuring product GMB and Most Wanted, used the hook and the riff from that and Get Your Groove On. And that's the name of that song. Anyway, don't forget, give George McCrae flowers because he is still here. Go to his website. Check him out. He might have some shows coming up that you can support. Next song gonna be our 6. We're rolling through. I think we were only on the 6 like hour and a half in last week. I don't know what happened, why the show was so long. But anyway, number 6 is from a group that you know and love. And if you don't know and love them, you've seen their album covers and you know and love those. It is the Ohio Players, a funk group from where else? Ohio, Dayton to be exact. It's Clarence Satchel on vocals and sax, Leroy Bonner on vocals and guitar, Billy Beck on keyboards, Marvin Pierce and Ralph Middlebrook on the trumpets, and Marshall Jones on the bass, and Jimmy Williams on the drums. Do you know they were originally called the Ohio Untouchables? I like Players better, okay? They were in the studio house band at Compass Records at first. And in the mid-60s, they got signed to Capitol Records out in L.A. But then they were like, it's alright. It's just alright for me. And so they moved to Westbound Records in Detroit in 1972. And they got hits. The Funky Worm. And you know the Funky Worm because it has been sampled so heavy throughout hip-hop. And it would hit number 15 on the regular chart and number 1 on the R&B charts in 1973. And Ecstasy, which hit number 31 on the regular charts, was on there for 6 weeks. So without further ado, we're going to get into Sweet Stick It Thing. Written and produced by the band. So they wrote and produced most of their hits. This song hit number 33 on the Billboard charts. And number 1 for a week. It stayed number 1 for a week on the R&B charts. Let's get it. love it.
You just go from there to there. I just don't seem to understand why you're so very hard to take. You sweet stinky thing. If I could slow you down sometime, I'd like to try and change your mind. You're really not the one to blame. You sweet stinky thing. I want to take you home with me. You wish and hide with me. You sweet stinky thing. You leave honey everywhere. Sometimes I wonder if you care. Who sees you when you do your thing? You've got such a sting.
Some of those things. You recognize stuff like the vocals and the lyrics and the style of it from Outkast, Crumbling Herb, just Crumbling Herb, just Crumbling Herbs, 21 Jump Street from 1994 with Snoop Dogg, and the hook and the riff from Damn Ass Bitch from Ja Rule and more. And if you're from DC and you go to backyard shows or you go to go-go shows in general, you know that they gonna get with G when they see G outside. We don't give up. We some gangsters for life. Hello. That was awesome. Anyway, gotta love it. I love some funk. We're gonna get into Alone, also written and produced by the band. Ohio Players, originally known as The Untouchables. I like Players better.
I don't wanna be alone anymore. I don't wanna be alone. Shut that door. This was just a silly game that we're playing. I will even take the blame. I'm I'm so ashamed. You said that you and I would be together from now on. If you walk out the door, girl, I won't see you no more. I don't wanna be alone anymore. This was just a silly game, girl. We were playing. Right. I will even take the blame. Hear what I'm saying, child. I'm so ashamed. I don't wanna be alone anymore.
That sound like a funk group doing a soulful R&B ballad right there. Okay, I love it. You like it? I love it. Okay, that was off the Mercury record label, which was launched back in 1945 by Irving Green, Earl Adams, and Arthur Talmadge of the Mercury Recording Corporation. Dutch group that had sold phonographs, bought them out in 1961. Then they sold to another one called Philips in 1962. The Philips phonograph group, they got together and made a deal. And 10 years later, they merged to form Polygram, which you probably heard of more so than the Dutch the Dutch phonograph companies. Anyway, Polygram, and then Mercury was one of Polygram's flagship labels. But in 1988, gigantic corporation Seagram came through, got Polygram, and Mercury became part of Universal Music Group eventually. So if you're looking for those jams from Ohio Players, you gotta holler at UMG, baby. Anyway, Ohio Players. And that was number 6 out of our 10. We are moving right along to our number 7, which is going to be Love Unlimited Orchestra. Not to be confused with Love Unlimited, which we've played some of that. Like, I believe we played some music from Love Unlimited last week, or maybe it was the week before last. Anyway, Love Unlimited was Barry White's protege group. Love Unlimited Orchestra was the 40-piece string-laden orchestra, literally, that was formed, literally, to support the proteges, Love Unlimited, but they also started supporting Barry White's productions and his tours and concerts stuff also. But they also released a whole bunch of LPs. They released their first one, Rhapsody in White, in 1974, and that one had their biggest hit, Love Theme, on it, which you know, anytime they talk about something old back in the days, or if you think about the Love Boat, if you're old enough to even know what the Love Boat is, you probably know the Love Theme. It was number 1 for 1 week on the Billboard charts. It was on the charts for 16 weeks, and that was in 1973, and it was the number 1 adult contemporary hit for 2 weeks. In 1976, more and more, they added someone you might know. Goes by the name of the government name of Kenny Garlick, better known as artist, Kenny G. You know the vibes that Kenny G brings, okay? Anyway, they were on 20th Century Records. Talked about them before, you know. They were from 20th Century Fox and yada yada. We'll get into that just as a review of how 20th Century Records came to be and where it went. First, we're going to listen to the theme from Together Brothers, and this is the Love Unlimited Orchestra. Oh, no, that's not what we're going to do. And immediately you're going to recognize where it came from. Ha! You already know! You already know! Don't start twerking. If you are from the 90s party scene, you definitely know that was heavily sampled. I could name two off the break just from my mentals, and that is Come On Ride the Train and Ride It. Come on ride the train and ride it. And then also Two Life Crew, well, Uncle Luke Skywalker used it on Ride. Bang it. Bounce. Both songs I like, so it's all good. So by default, I also love that. Anyway, we're going to get into the other side of it, which is called Find the Man Bros. Love Unlimited Orchestra. Ow. All written and produced by Barry White. Arranged by Barry White and Gene Page. And if you don't remember who Gene Page is, he's a pianist, arranger, composer, producer. He's worked with Sammy Davis Jr., Marvin Gaye, The Supremes, Ike and Tina Turner, Dean Martin, etc., etc. So he's worked with a lot of people. love funky orchestra music like this because it sounds like heist music. Like I should be robbing a bank right now and getting away with it. Straight off of 20th Century Records, subsidiary of 20th Century Fox, the Film Corporation. Started in 1958, and in 1963, 20th Century Fox Records, they were distributed by ABC Records, which we've talked about before, from 1967 to 70. Then in 1970, they closed because the parent office was like, we out. The rent is too high. So anyway, 1972, they relaunched as 20th Century Records, and then they changed the name in 1978 to 20th Century Fox Records, again, distributed by RCA this time instead of ABC from 1979 to 81. Of course, the label ended up their backlog ended up being sold to Polygram in 1981. And in 1991, they did a comeback as two labels, 20th Century Fox Film Scores and 20th Century Fox Records. The difference was, film scores like Star Wars and all that stuff versus albums from singing artists. In 2009, the soundtrack back catalog was purchased by Fox Music from Universal Music Group, UMG, and the non-soundtrack was retained by Universal. So Fox owns all the movie stuff, and UMG owns all the artist stuff. That was Love Unlimited Orchestra. Remember, not to be confused with Love Unlimited, period, because that was the singing group. Next, we got some some more funky hits coming from Fred Wesley and the JBs. And you know Fred Wesley as James Brown's right-hand man. His director, band leader, he did a lot of production and all that stuff. He conducted the band, directed them. He was this was influential for dancing music. The Fred Weasley, what is this, Harry Potter? Fred Wesley and the JBs, which the band was, of course, you remember we talked about Bobby Bird because he played one of his songs last week. He was on synthesizer and vocals. Fred Thomas was on the bass. Wesley played trombone and other horns. James Brown, of course, was on the vocals. John Jabbo Starks was on the drums. Lynn Collins on the vocals. Maceo, Maceo, on the saxophone, and St. Clair Pinckney was the alto sax. So he was James Brown's and the JBs themselves. Primary composer, arranger, director from 68 to 75, but in 76, him and Maceo rolled out and joined up with George Clinton. They was like, oh, we want the funk, but the other funk instead. And so they joined George Clinton, and Fred also played with Bootsy's band, Bootsy's Rubber Band. So he also arranged and collabed and wrote for Ray Charles, Curtis Mayfield, Van Morrison, Cameo, Lionel Hampton, and many, many more. We're going to listen to Doing It to Death by Fred Wesley and the JBs. It was number 22 on the Billboard Pop Charts. And also number 1 on the R&B charts. So, it's a banger. Hey, this hand dance music.
Yo, how you feel, brother? You feel good? Don't play so much bone, brother.
Or line dance.
How you feel, man? I call your name. I want people to know you in here. How you feel, brother? Hey, yeah. You're getting down. Look at him. We're gonna have a fun good time. 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 Just take 'em up, friend. We gotta take you high. Yeah. Ow. All right. You wanna do it again? You wanna do it again? We gotta take you high. All right. I'm gonna get that fellow with the little horn over there. That dang horn over there. Back, get it, take it higher. Take it higher. Back. You know what? When I hear a groove like this, oh, yeah, baby, yeah, that glow, yeah, man. It's bang, it's bang. Look here, never got a groove like this. You know, no, no. I need to quit. Got to quit. Got to quit. Job. Need to get that. Got to get the bread. You know, I believe, hey, that bread down. Brother, I'm getting ready to wave y'all in. You know what? I feel so down. I need to get down. In order for me to get down, I got to get in deep. In order for me to get down, I got to get in deep. Need to get in deep. Dog the deep. Down deep. Funky deep. Stinking deep. Down deep. Get on down. Morgan Lamb, you like deep. I let you make about making the big hill. Look here. Look at that. You over there? You better bang one breath first. What we gotta do? Gotta have a bump. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Gotta have a bump. Oh, yeah. Gotta have a bump. I know you were singing, Greg. Don't moan so much, brother. Don't moan so much. Gotta have a bump. Check 'em out there. We gotta take it high. Wait a minute. Now, who you say that was over there? Maybe look at that. I gotta say it somewhere. Is that the bass, yo? You doing everything over there.
I love it so much. It's called Doing It to Death. Like I said, it was number 22 on the pop charts, number 1 on the R&B charts for 2 whole weeks. It held that number 1 spot. And it is a funky good time. That is the perfect song for line dances. I think there's a line dance made to that. Of course, it is one of the faves for people to do hand dancing to, at least in DC. I can't tell you of the whether I'm pretty sure it's adaptable to the variations of the hand dance. You know, you got the bop in certain areas. You got swing dancing. Some people call it swing. That's good music right there. That's a good funky, good time. If you didn't have a smile on your face doing a little jig to that, I don't know what to tell you. I mean, it's not raining outside. Cheer up a little bit. Anyway, we're going to listen to the other side. It's called Everybody Got Soul. And we know it's going to be a funky good time as well. Anything coming from the JBs is going to be like that. They were on the People Imprint record label, which was set up by James Brown in 1971. It was also the home of Lynn Collins, if you're familiar with her. It was the longest surviving label that was run by James Brown, or owned by James Brown, even though it only lasted from 1971 to 1976. But hey, a win is a win, right? It also was the label that housed Hank Ballard, too, if you're familiar. Anyway, this is Everybody Got Soul, and as you can see, like I said, some of these records that were released back then, you put on the other side, and it's literally just part 2 of the jam session. So we're gonna let this jam a little bit more, and then we'll fade out and go to our, get this, our 9th choice. We're almost out of here. Our 9th choice for the night. Because you know we only choose 10 records each and every week. This is the full band right there. You gotta let the flute get some. You know, sometimes they would have, especially a funk band or a band that's got a lot of members, that has a lot of instruments. It's like a jam session. You want to let everybody get showcased. So they had the flute getting showcased, and now we got the guitar coming in there getting jazzy with the flute. So, and this part of the part 2 is called Everybody Got Soul, because everybody in the band got soul. It ain't just, you know, the main portions you hear. By themselves, they hold their own. So I can dig that, you know.
Look at here. How you feel, brother? You know, if we went back to the key of F, what would you think of? Fred, what do you think of when we think of the key of F? Really? Oh man, that's really good. Let's do it. Brother Mayfield. Yeah. No. What do you think of, brother? When you think of the key of F? And make it big, brother. Freedom! I know!
That's right. Not to be confused as just James Brown. That imprint was literally printed as Fred Wesley and the JBs. Of course, James Brown was a part of the JBs as the lead singer, but it wasn't just James Brown, okay? It was also his man, his right-hand man, the composer, the director, the band leader, Fred Wesley. And that was it. We are coming up on our 9th choice out of our 10, and it is from Someone You Know and Love off of Atlantic Records, founded by Ahmet Erdogan and Herb Aberson in 1947. They signed their first artist, Ruth Brown, to the label in 1949, and in 1952, Ray Charles. Herb, the partner, went to the military temporarily, and in 1953, Ahmet brought on Jerry Wexler, who was a Billboard writer and credited, got to do some research on that, credited with coining the term rhythm and blues. Anyway, Ahmet helped establish the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame with Jan Winter, the founder and editor of Rolling Stone, Jerry Wexler, and Seymour Stein, Alan Grubman, and Bob Krasnow. He was inducted himself into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 1987. On that record label, Atlantic, is super duper star songstress Dionne Warwick and the Spinners. This releases Dionne Warwick and the Spinners. You know the Spinners, the R&B group from formed in Detroit in the 60s. They were associated heavily with Motown, and also Tom Bales, part of that big three producers for the Philadelphia sound. And so they were associated with Tom Bell's Philadelphia soul sound in the 1970s. And they've got hits from 1972 to 1977, like I'll Be Around, number 3 on the regular chart, number 1 on the R&B chart. Could It Be I'm Falling in Love, number 4 on the regular charts, 1 on the R&B chart. Mighty Love, number 20 on the regular chart, number 1 on the R&B charts. It's the pattern here. And Ghetto Child, which was number 29 on the R&B charts. Miss Dionne Warwick, on the other hand, Marie Dionne Warwick from East Orange, New Jersey, straight out of Jersey. Niece of Sissy Houston, who was from the Sweet Inspirations, a singer in her own right, cousin of Whitney Houston. Here's the thing that's weird about that. Says that her name was Dionne Warwick, but because when her hit record was printed for Don't Make Me Over, they misspelled her name, so she changed it to Warwick. And then she went from adding an E to her name for a little bit of time in the 70s. So it was Warwick with the E at the end, and then Warwick without an E. She also was the co-host of a really popular show called Solid Gold from 1980 to 81 and 85 to 86. You had to be there. You had to be there. I can't even explain Solid Gold to you right now. Also, you know her from the 90s from the Psychic Network. And you can't sue Dion. She was just a spokesperson. Nobody told you to call them people and get them all that money on the phone. But anyway, you might know her most recently from just being Dionne Warwick on social media. And she's awesome. And where's my prop? Gotta make sure we give her props because she is still here. Give her flowers while she is still here. This song that was put out in conjunction with each other, the Dionne Warwick and Spinners, is a hit for both groups on the Spinners side and on Dionne Warwick's side. It's called Then Came You, and you know it. It was number 1 for 1 week on the Billboard charts in August of 1974, and number 1 for 1 week on the R&B charts, but it stayed on the charts 15 weeks. So let's go.
Ever since I met you, seems I can't forget you. The thought of you keeps running through the back of my mind. Every time I'm near you, I get that urge to feel you. Just touching you and loving you makes everything right. Never knew love before. Then came you. Then came you. I never knew love before. Then came you. Then came you. Now that I have found you, how did I live without you? It's plain to see you're all I need to satisfy me. I'm so darn proud of you. I wanna sing about you. You made my wrong by touching my hand. Oh, I never knew love before. Then came you. Then came you. I never knew love before. Then came you. Then came you. Hey, then came you.
Also a gold hit for them, written by Sherman Marshall and Philip T. Pugh. Sherman Marshall was a songwriter and producer who also worked with Teddy Pendergrass, Lou Rawls, Johnny Mathis, Isaac Hayes, and much more. And Philip T. Pugh, songwriter, producer, and arranger, also worked with Gene Carn. Next, we're going to get into the other side, the B-side of this. It's called Just As Long As We Have Love. It was written by Vinnie Barrett and Bruce Hawes. Vinnie Barrett, DC award-winning songwriter, co-composed Just Don't Want to Be Lonely, Love Won't Let Me Wait, Sideshow, hello. And Bruce Hawes was a Philly producer and also a singer and pianist and songwriter. He just passed away February 17th of this year. He started off with Philadelphia International Records in 1972. Then he became an independent producer and music production distributor of sorts, and did that from the 80s and 90s on to up until before he passed. And he's produced people like MFSB, The Whispers, Force of Nature, Double Exposure. He's written and arranged for 3 Degrees, Johnny Mathis, Instant Funk, The Shy Lights, The Soul Train Gang. So they had quite the team behind them. This is called As Long As We Have Love. Again, it is by Dionne Warwick and the Spinners.
But the things we have, no man could ever take it. Just the two of us, now who could ask for more? We may not have a few stashed away. No one knows what tomorrow brings. But as long as I have you, there's no that the world is ours to do most anything. Baby, just as long as we have love, 2 shoulders we can lean on if we fall. Baby, just as long as we have love, we'll have it all.
We can show the world when 2 hearts beat together. We don't even need to know the time of day. Let all the people keep their wealth and faith. High roads and fancy diamonds. There's no price to pay for treasures built between us. We can share the world 'cause we have everything.
Baby, just as long as we have love, 2 shoulders we can lean.
If we fall,
Baby, just as long as we have love, we'll have it all.
we'll have it all.
Baby, just as long as we have love, 2 shoulders we can lean.
If we fall, just as long as we have.
2 shoulders
Oh yes, we can now. If we fall,
baby,
just as long as we have love.
They tried to skip out on us literally, but that's all good. It was almost to the end anyway. That's a wonderful, nice, beautiful song right there. Just As Long As We Have Love, Dionne Warwick and the Spinners. Last song of the show. When I picked this one up, out of the bunch. I told you I pick them randomly every week. And when I picked it up, just so I could review, so I could get some background notes on it, I was so excited because I love that song. And I love so many songs by this group. They're on the RCA label. In case you don't remember what RCA is standing for, it's the Radio Corporation of America. It was a U.S. electronic and communications company formed in 1919. In 1929, RCA acquired the Victor Talking Machine Company. Victor and Victrola, if you have one of these new age record players, chances are yours might be by Victrola. So they're still around. That was the Victor and Victrola labels. RCA, they became RCA Victor until 1968. Then the RCA Records. So, 1985, General Electric, yes, GE, that owns everything, purchased them, but then they ended up selling them to Bertelsmann, which is Bertelsmann Music Group, BMG, which is also in charge of everything. And now it's part of Sony Music Entertainment. And, they were able to bring with them an umbrella of other networked record labels like Jive, Arista, LaFace, J Records. All your major faves that are born after the 60s are probably on one of those records labels. Anyway, it's none other than Daryl Hall and John Oates. Yes, indeed. Daryl Franklin Hall of Philly and John Oates of New York City, they met while they were students at Temple University in 1967. And then also, Hall was singing background for soul groups before he teamed up with Oates in 1972. Because, they met in school, but then Hall had got transferred to another one, so they didn't really do music right then. But then they got back together because they were cool like that. But once they jumped on the scene with their sound, they ended up surpassing the Everly Brothers as the number one charting duo of the rock era. If you know Everly Brothers because they're Bye Bye Love and Wake Up Little Susie, so you know them. They were initially down with the folk rock, but then they met a guy called Tommy Mottola, you know him, of Mariah Carey fame and love, and he became their manager and got them a contract with Atlantic. But then they changed their style up in 1974 with a harder rock sound. And then they took it back to pop/rock a little bit. But in 1976, they left Philly for New York City and signed with RCA and produced their first top 10 hit, Sarah's Smile. Guess who it was written for? Daryl Hall's girlfriend, Sarah Allen. It was number 4 in the Billboard charts. It was on the charts for 17 weeks, and it is a gold record. They've had many, many, many hits between 76 and 81. Number 1's Rich Girl, gold in February of 77. Kiss on My List, gold on the 7th in July of 81. Private Eyes, gold in September of 81. So that's just 3 ones. I'm only talking about the ones that peaked at 1. There were several other hits that they had. In one of them, it's a banger for me. It's a banger for me. It's called I Can't Go For That. No. And it hit at the end of the year. It's Hall & Oates, ladies and gentlemen. The last song of the night. Well, last 2 songs, because we're going to play the B-side too, which is called Unguarded Minute. Both of these songs, the lyrics were written by Hall and Oates, plus Sarah Allen, the girlfriend. And Unguarded Minute, which is on the other side, also written by Hall and Oates, plus Sarah Allen. And the music was arranged and produced by Daryl Hall.
all night. Use the body, now you want my soul. Whoa, forget about it, now say no, go. Yeah, I'll do anything that you want me to. Yeah, do almost anything that you want me to. Yeah, but I can't go for that, no. No can do, I can't go for that, no. No can do, I can't go for that, no. No can do, I can't go for that, can't go for that, can't go for that, can't go for that, yeah. I'll do anything that you want me to, yeah, but I can't go for that, no. No can do, I can't go for that, no. No can do, I can't go for that, no. No can do, I can't go for that, can't go for that, can't go for that, can't go for that,
John. Oh, shout out to Temple University for linking those two together. Because like I said, Daryl's from Philly. Hall's from New York. What if they didn't go to school? They would never have met. We would never have the gem that I just paid for you. And so many others. All the 80s movies where they go shopping and they play "You Make My Dreams Come True" would never have happened. The 80s would have been ruined if there was no Daryl Hall and John Oates. I mean, I stand on that. I'm going to stand on that hill. I'm going to die on that hill. Anyway, last song of the episode is going to be Unguarded Minute. Like I said, it was written by Hall and Oates and Sarah Allen. And Hall was the arranger producer for the musical part, attributes of the song. it for Mommy's Pocketbook this week, episode 6. Thanks for tuning in with me. Make sure you come back and tune in next time where we choose 10 more classic pop, soul, R&B, funk hits from the 60s, 70s, and 80s. And we discover what was in Mommy's Pocketbook. What were the youth and young adults of those years listening to? What was good on the streets? I will holler at you guys next time. If you ever want to just keep sharing this or view it again, it's also going to be posted on YouTube. You already know that. See you guys later.